desire is made to quench a fire that's burning out of control. It's burning out of control.
Hey, what's cracking, guys? This is Adam from Titan in the Deep, and I'm here with my buddy Kevin, and we're going to be talking about Army number 4, I think. Yes, this is Army number 4. First one I did, this is from the Defense of the North Legendary Legions. We did Assault on Lothlorien first, then second was Army of Dale, third was the Fell Beings of Mirkwood, and today we're going to be doing
Defenders of Erebor.
That's right, it's going to be a good time. Kevin here is one of our resident dwarf players, and he knows a little bit about the Men of Dale as well. He's actually got some of his army painted up here, and we're going to show you guys some. I know some of you guys have been asking about getting to see some of the models. I don't have a lot of the models to talk about. I have a lot of evil models. I don't have a lot of good models. So anyway, we're just going to get right into it today. Again, please like and subscribe if you enjoy the channel and the content, and we're going to get right to it. So here are the Defenders of Erebor. First things first, let's talk about the special rules from this Legendary Legion. So the additional rules, straight up, are a Defenders of Erebor force must always contain at least one named Erebor hero, and it has to have at least one named Dale hero. You have multiple options here, especially on the Erebor side. My God, there's like 10,000 dwarfs to choose from.
They're all good choices.
They are. There's some really good ones. There's some really cool synergies with a couple of them though that we'll get to in a minute. So only Erebor heroes can lead Erebor warriors. So dwarves can only lead dwarves. Only Dale models, hero models, may lead Dale warriors. And all models with the Iron Hills keyword replaces it with the Erebor keyword, which is very important for a lot of the other rules. So the special rules to the army are pretty simple. There's 4 of them. First is a long-standing alliance with Dale. Models within 1 inch of a friendly Erebor model may reroll 1s for wounding during the fight phase. Additionally, Erebor models get the same exact bonus. So that's the first one. A bond forged in war is the second special rule. If either Dane or Brand would be trapped at the start of the fight phase, then the other may declare heroic combat without spending might. That's pretty awesome. If this is not possible for them to join their allies' fight, then they have to move as close as possible to their trapped ally. You get heirs to the kingdom, which is essentially the same rule that you get with Dane and Brand, you get with Thorin 3 and with Bard 2. So if either one of them are trapped, then you can do the same thing. You can call a heroic combat for free, no might points are spent, and you get to try to jump into their combat or get as close as you can. And the last thing is, I think probably the best rule in this whole army. It's called Royal Bloodlines, and Kevin can talk more about this in a second, but friendly models within 3 inches of Dane Ironfoot, Thorin III Stonehelm, Brand King of Dale, and Bard 2 Prince of Dale count as being in range of a banner. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. You have essentially 4 built-in banners, which is going to get us started, like, I guess, with some of the cool stuff about this army. I guess we can introduce these guys. Do you want to start talking about some of the heroes and start with Dane and go right down the list?
Yeah, so my experience with Dane is extremely limited. I played 1 game with him, and the one and only time I was playing Evan, who's in our group. He's been on the channel.
Yeah, he's the Chump in the East. You guys have met him multiple times.
Yeah, Chump in the East podcast. It's going to be brought back. He's just been busy with work, real busy with work.
He has like 4 jobs.
Yeah. So it's going to be coming back, but I was playing against him, and as you guys know, he plays evil just as much as you do. But he plays Azog's Hunters. Well, they have Morgul arrows. The one and only time it's ever gone off was the very first game when I had Dane on the board, because I just got the models. I just primed them up. I mean, they weren't painted, so I'm just going to, chalk it off to they weren't painted, so it's always bad luck for me. And, he took 2 wounds from the Morgul arrows, and then the next turn, I biffed my dice roll, and he died, like 10 inches away from getting in combat.
The Morgul arrows.
Yeah.
So you can't say they don't work. They sometimes do. Just an unfortunate time. Let's go through Dane's profile. If you, a lot of these are available in the Defense of the North supplement that Games Workshop just released. 2 months ago, roughly.
Yeah, something like
Yeah, it
that.
was like beginning of May or something. Anyway, so this is Dane Ironfoot, King Under the Mountain. He's 130 points. He's a dwarf, Erebor, infantry, and hero. He is a hero of legend, which is significant. It means he can lead 18 troops. He's move 5, fight 6, 4+ to hit, strength 4, D8, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 7.
Which is insane.
It is. Might, will, fate, 3, 3, 1. 3 might, 3 will, 1 fate. His war gear is the heavy dwarf armor and Barazanthathul.
Don't ask me.
Whatever. This
I can't.
giant
pronounce
freaking
it.
axe. If you know how to pronounce it, make a video and explain it and like tell all of us. His heroic actions are resolve, strike, strength, and challenge.
Back up. That axe, it's a master forge hand and a half.
Yes, it is. There we go.
So, even though he's only strength 4, it's a master forge hand and a half. So he can still do a lot of damage.
Yeah, he's pretty nice actually. And that means he can two-hand it without taking the penalty, which is you're obviously going to do pretty much every time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Master forged.
Yeah, I don't know why you would go one-handed.
I don't
with
either.
them.
Ever. It doesn't make any sense. It might as well just be like he's going to swing this thing around his head like a helicopter. Anyway, so his heroic actions are resolve, strike, strength, and challenge. His special rules are fearless. You run into anything with courage 7. He's pretty much going to do that anyway, unless you throw a couple of 1s and then ha ha ha. Anyway, vulnerable is his next one, and it's kind of weird. It's a passive ability. So it says Dane is incredibly old and is not as agile as he once was. I don't know that he ever really was. But whenever Dane makes a jump, leap, or climb test, he will roll 2 dice and pick the lowest result.
So Evan and me were talking about this last night, and we love how they're like, Games Workshop is like, hey, old dwarf, what are we going to do to account for this? And then like we're just imagining somebody sitting in a boardroom meeting that's just like, he can't climb anything. So we just like old dwarf just like
That's pretty much it. All right, and then his last rule is an active ability called King Under the Mountain. Friendly Erebor dwarf models, including all hero models, will benefit from Dane's Standfast regardless of range. It is
huge.
board wide, which is pretty crazy. So he is an excellent leader for this army. So let's get on to the next profile. That would be Thorin the Third Stonehelm. You want to read him off here?
Oh yeah. So Thorns move 5, fight 6, strength 4, D8, 3 attacks, 2 wounds, which is it's a little bit of a drawdown for him. But he covers it with his fate. Courage 6, and then he's 3/3/3. So even though he's got 1 less wound than Dad, he's got 2 more fate. So possibility of taking 5 wounds instead of 4 wounds before he's actually gone.
Mm-hmm.
He's got heavy armor, shield, and a hand and a half pick. Just me personally, unless something is master forged or they have the burly special rule, I don't typically go 2-handed unless they have a bunch of support with them, so then I don't have to
Possibly lose the D3 defense. Yeah.
So he's got strike, and when you're fight 6, striking is very beneficial, especially if you're going. Azog, you're going to have to strike against. And then, some of the big hitters, the Balrog, Sauron. I think the Watchers fight 7.
It's 6.
6? Okay, never mind. But it's like if you're going against like a King Elisar, or just, I guess, a Strider too, with the Mighty Hero, fight 6, and they're going to use that free might to just try to outpace you on the dice roll. You got that strike, you start tied fight value, so you don't have to worry about being fight 4 or fight 5 and having to get an additional number on your dice, which is always beneficial. Heroic strength. I've never really used heroic strength, so I can't really say a whole lot.
It's a very conditional special rule, but it does. You can use it to your benefit sometimes. With some of them keep you from getting knocked over.
Oh, okay.
Like if for example, if a ring wraith tried to charge you on Fell Beast and you called heroic strength, but if you got up to 6, then their Fell Beast is hitting you at 6 also, so it can't knock you down.
Okay.
It has to be over.
Pretty beneficial then.
It is a weird rule, but I mean, it's,
Yeah.
keeps you from getting knocked to the ground, and then potentially, getting double hits on you, whatever. But I mean, you're probably going to strike anyway. But I'm just saying, there's a bunch of weird things you can do with it.
And then this final one is heroic defense, which I use that more and more, especially going against big hitter enemies or trapped bunch of spear supports or bike supports, something like that. Just in case I'm getting low on wounds and fate, and I'm like, he needs to stick around for another 1 or 2 turns so I can get some reinforcements by him. So I'll call a heroic defense because you need the nat 6s then. So even though he's D8, there's still a lot of things that can punch through that armor.
Rends.
Yeah.
Reds are still nasty. He's got one special rule. It's called Cool-Headed. It's an active, and you can tell what that one is too.
Okay. Yeah, so Cool-Head is actually really nice. Whenever Thorin declares one of those 3 actions, he rolls a dice on a 5+. He doesn't have to use any might. So probability's not with you, but there's still a chance. So depending on how hot your dice are that game, I mean, you could, in theory, have infinite might if you're just calling like a ton of strikes or defenses or something.
I mean, you got a 33% chance. That's not bad. I mean, it's not hardly as good as like the 4+ ones or the 3+ ones that are out there, but the 5+ is cool. I mean, that's awesome to get a potential of 1 in 3 of your heroics are going to be. I mean, because that almost guarantees you that you're going to get. It doesn't guarantee you, but statistically, you should get at least 4 might from just having that one ability or 4 different abilities. So that's kind of cool. And as actions also would cover all of the typical heroics too, like heroic combat, heroic. Well, does it cover heroic combat? It does a heroic move. Because he has. Everybody has heroic move, shoot, and combat. So yeah, I don't know. I guess you see what I'm saying. Anyway, okay, so he's the second guy on this list. We also have Brand and Bard. We'll get back to the rest of the dwarves because these are the 4 count as banners basically. So the next one we're going to talk about is Brand, and he is right up here above me. I already missed him. Here we go. Brand, King of Dale, 110 points, male Dale infantry hero of legend. Just like Dane, hero of legend, can lead 18 troops. He's move 6, 5/5, 3+ to hit, strength 4, D7, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 5, 3 might, 3 will, 1 fate, heavy armor, sword, and shield. His heroic actions are resolve, strike, and strength. His special rules are Lord of Dale, it's active. Brand's stand fast is 12 inches rather than 6, which can cover a lot of ground. And then he's also a stoic fighter. At the start, it's also active by the way, at the start of a fight involving Brand, check to see if he would be trapped. Should he lose the duel roll, with the exception of a friendly model that can make way for Brand, if Brand would be trapped, he may re-roll a single D6 to win the duel and a single D6 when rolling to wound. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's nice. It's definitely circumstantial though. But in all honesty, when you're running the Legendary Legion, I mean, if you take one king, take the other king. If you take one prince, take the other prince, because of the synergies. So in theory, if you get Brand trapped, not only is he rerolling 1 dice for the duel, is he rerolling 1 dice for the wound, but now King Dane is getting a free heroic combat to kill his dudes and run as far over to where King Brand is at.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of crazy. You want to, it's funny, like some strategies for this we'll get into in a bit, but you want to trap yourself, which is nuts with this army. You actually want to trap yourself because there's so many benefits to you being trapped. Like your opponent's just going to be like, it's going to cause some problems. Which I think this Legendary Legion is highly underrated. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the pros and cons. Anyway, so that's Brand. Here is Bard 2. And Kevin, you take this one, brother.
So Bard, 100 points, Hero of Valor. So relatively expensive, 15 models. So I run them. It's Bard, a couple bows, and a bunch of Knights of Dale because, I'll get into the special rules later. But he's move 6, fight 3, which is fight 5, shoot 3. He doesn't have any ranged weapons though. Fight 5 is kind of the standard for human heroes. So he's really nothing special combat-wise. Strength 4, D7, 3 attacks, 2 wounds, 6 courage. And then he's 3/2/2 for Might Will Fate. So he may not look a whole, like, real enticing when you just kind of look at the profile. And then his rogue actions are Resolve, Strike, and Defense. So he is able to get above the Fight 5 in case you do run into a big hitter hero, or you're trying to have a strike off and you go, Fight 5, whatever. His special rule, though, is Wall of Blades, which the Knights of Dale also have. So it's just, this model gains a bonus of +1 to wound when making strikes with their spear against a model that charged them that turn. So, like I was saying, I run Prince Bard, a couple bows, and just a bunch of knights in his warband. And unless somebody's just gonna shoot at me, I just kind of sit there, I plug a hole, I cap an objective, and I just say, you come to me. Because the knights are Fight 4, the prince is Fight 5. You're gonna be doing pretty well in your dual rolls. If you tie. And then on top of somebody charging you, I mean, yeah, the prince is strength 4, the knights are strength 3, so it's nothing to write home about. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day because you're now getting a +1. So the prince is getting basically a 4-up to wound anything except heroes with D7 that come at you. And the warriors, it's possibly a 4 or a 5 to wound basically anything. So it's a very turtle army that I play with my Dale contingent.
One good thing about Bard 2 also is he has heavy armor, a shield, a spear, and a sword. So he actually has 2 weapons, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And there's not a tremendous amount of heroes that do. So I mean, like if you run into Moria and they have the Shatter Shaman, not be able to blow up your spear, but at least you got a sword left, you know. And then think about it. Like if you look at your profile for all your heroes, very few of them have more than 1 weapon. So anyway, it's kind of cool that he has 2. I like that they gave him both.
Yeah.
But we are probably not going to do all of the dwarfs, but I will tell you who all's available because this is crazy. You can see all of these dwarfs in the Hobbit book starting on page 37 of the Heroes of Erebor Reclaimed. All right. So essentially who all you have. This is all the other named dwarves you have access to. And this is bananas. So you have Dwalin the dwarf. These are all champions of Erebor, so we're just going to tack that on so you know. So you have Dwalin, you have Biffer, Bofer, Nori, Dory, and Gloin. You have access to all of those dwarfs, and they all have very special, specific abilities. Dwalin is probably the most terrifying out of all of them because he is, good lord, he is a tank.
He's insane.
He has so many good qualities. He's got like 3 or 4 weapons. He has strike. He's got a preposterous amount of stuff that you can, like I said, if you go to the Hobbit book, the Armies of the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, all of these guys are listed starting on page 37. That's where Thorin, Oakenshield, King Under the Mountain's listed. So you can jump on there and just look all the way down through all of them because, I mean, they're crazy. And this is the rest of the army that you have access to.
I was going to say, don't sleep on Gloin.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Okay,
There's some other great fighters. Nori's an amazing fighter. I mean, all of them are good. Man.
Yeah.
They all have something about them that's awesome.
Yeah, so, I mean, Dwalin's amazing, but I like taking Gloin because he's 25 points less. And also, I don't know why, but he's the only champion at Erebor that I have painted. Everybody else is just sitting in the sprue.
Right on.
So,
yeah, I think we've only got we have 2 players in our Nashville group that have that army painted, that have the champions. I know John does.
yeah.
Is Ezra is the other one? He doesn't have. Oh, he doesn't have them painted, does he?
I don't think so.
Anyway.
Evan gave his away as a prize support for March on Music City.
Oh yeah, I remember that last year.
He had them, but yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway, so you got access to these 6 different dwarves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 6 different dwarves. All right, here's the rest of the list, okay, and we'll get on to the rest of it. So You can get Iron Hills Captains. They are 80 points. You can get them a War Goat for free. Or I'm sorry, for 10 points. Or you can exchange their War Spear for a Matic for free. There we go. All right, and then that's all of the heroes basically from Erebor. Now the Dale side, you also have Captains of Dale. They're 50 points base. You can give them a bow, an Esgaroth bow, for 5 points, or a shield for 5 points. The Esgaroth bows are awesome. They're 24-inch range, and they are strength 3. So they're essentially elf bows, is what they are. Men have access to them, and they're basically the only army that do, I think, aren't they?
Minas Tirith has longbows, which is the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then the warriors are pretty simple. There you have access technically to 4 different warriors. You have the Iron Hills Dwarves. They're 11 points base. You can give them a banner for 25. You can exchange their shield for a crossbow for 1 point. You can give them a spear for 1 point, or you can exchange their shield for a Matic for free. All right, so that's the Iron Hills Dwarves. And remember that only the Erebor heroes can lead Iron Hills or Erebor Dwarves, essentially. Then you also have access to the Iron Hills Goat Riders. We'll talk more about them in a minute. They're 20 points base. They're fantastic models, really, really powerful. Probably the most mobile thing you have in this entire list, which you absolutely need them. And hold on, we'll show you. This is who we've been watching. This is Vader. This is Kevin's dog. He's awesome. Want to say hi?
No, he's just going to stand there.
Yeah, he's just going to stand there. All right. Little quick interruption break. All right, so anyway. Then you have the Warriors of Dale. They're 7 points base. They have access to a War Horn for 30 points, banner for 25, Esgaroth bows for 2, a shield for 1, a spear for 1. And then last access you have for this army is you have Knights of Dale, and their base 11 points, and that's fantastic at 11 points. So holy cow, that was the entire list. So now we can talk about like kind of the pros and cons that we like from this list. And Kevin's actually played it, so you can kind of tell him what you think. My first one is straight up. They have an awesome hero selection. I mean, you have 10 heroes you can select, choose from.
Without we're just gonna ignore the special rules for this. Like just looking at the heroes. I mean, if you're playing enough points to be able to run either the 2 princes or the 2 kings, and then you throw in another named hero, I mean, it's going to be a dwarf.
If you only get one.
Yeah. I mean, you got Dwalin that can kill anything in the game. You got Glowing that can kill anything in the game. And then the other champions of Erebor, Bifur, Bofor, Nori, Dori, they didn't die and they didn't go with Balin and Moria. I mean, they can hold off basically an entire warband by themselves too if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. Just because, I mean, they're dwarves, so they're stout, they're hard to kill, they have good fight value, and they have good weapons. They have different abilities depending on the situation coming at you. Mm-hmm. So they're always a plus. The only downside, if you wanted to spend the money and you're good at converting stuff, is the champions of Erebor in this list cannot get goat riders. Oh yeah. So, but I think
they can't get goats. Like
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, they can't get goats. But I think actually just look. Is it Dwalin's the only? I think Dwalin's the only one in the list that has the option in the. If you play the just Erebor reclaimed army, I think he's the only one in this list that has the option for a goat. Mm-hmm. So, it is what it is at this point, I guess. And then Iron Hills captain, Erebor captains. One of the best captains in the game, mainly because A, they can take a goat, and
they're expensive, but they're good.
Oh yeah, and B, they have Master of Battle on a dice roll, 5+. So, I mean, in theory, yeah, captains only have 2 might, but depending on how you play. Because I know different groups play differently whenever you're calling out actions. But if you want, you can save your captain to be your last call if there's going to be multiple actions going on. You can sit there and be like, oh, you're calling a strike? Or you're calling a combat? I'll call combat. Let's see if I can do it for free, and I just copy you. And you throw a dice, and if you get a 5, you get a free point of might. Which is incredibly huge, especially for a small resource hero.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, they're 80 points base, but I mean, It's pretty wild that you can get Master of Battle on a regular captain. There's no other captain in the game that does that, which is just nuts. So yeah, that's the captains. So another thing, we already covered the Goat Riders. The Goat Riders are they're your best, the most mobile thing in this entire list by a long shot. Dwarves are only move 5, even marching they're only move 8. So that's like on par with goblins, which aren't super fast. But yeah, and they don't have like the goblins cave dwellers, so they can climb right up a wall. So anyway, they have some really other awesome abilities though. Like Iron Hills dwarves are all D7 base. In Shield Wall, they bump up to 8. They're all strength 4, and they are 4+ to hit with their crossbows, which is all awesome. Mm-hmm. All very powerful things. So you also have access to the Knights of Dale and even the Warriors of Dale. They're much cheaper because I mean like the Iron Hills dwarves are all 11 points base. The Warriors of Dale are only 7, so they're 4 points cheaper base. So you can get you can kind of flesh out your numbers with the Warriors of Dale, and you also have the access to the Esgaroth bows, which again are essentially elf bows. So there's some cool stuff in it. Like I said, there's the Knights of Dale, and then there's the 4 hero banners, which is just nuts to me that you have 4 freaking heroes in this list that count as banners. That's just crazy. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. Well, it's weird. They don't count as a banner, so you don't get them in points.
Yeah.
They don't get accounted. What it actually reads is they count as being in range of a banner, not as a banner.
It's like Men of the West for Erebor, where it's just a model that gives the effect out in a bubble.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, so what's some of the things that you like about this list? Like, how do you play it? Like when you play it personally, how successful have you been with it?
So, what was it? Last weekend we had a local event, the 500. So last weekend, from when this is being recorded, we played
8 days ago.
Yeah. We had a 500 point event just for our local Nashville group. I ran 500 points, the 2 princes. I think, I don't know, a lot of dwarves and knights just to flush out the rest of my points. I think it was real close to 500 points, like if not exactly on the dot. I don't have my list out with me right now, but I had no range, so it was kind of detrimental against me. But at the end of the day, like I played a couple practice games, and at the end of the day, I was like, I'm just marching across the field, I'm getting in combat, and I am going to kill everything. And that's
pretty
basically what I did. So I played Rohan my first and second game. So the first game, it was Theoden and Aemir and Durnhelm and a bunch of riders, and they were kind of kiting around me. And then once they actually charged in, I lost one dwarf to a ranged attack. And then once they charged into me, it was just dead horses everywhere. Because, I mean, Rohan has to charge to get their army bonus. Well, how I set it up was my Knights of Dale in front with my dwarves behind. So when they charged into me, I got a +1 to my wound roll.
The Knights of Dale get that. They have it's called a Wall of Blades.
Yeah, Wall of Blades.
Yeah, so anytime they're charged, they get +1 to wound on any fight that they win.
So that was incredibly beneficial. I did end up drawing that one because it wasn't an objective grab scenario. I can't remember which one we played after the vetoes. But I ended up tying 6-6 with a non-mobile, non-ranged army, and I just marched across the board, and horses ran into me, and I ran into horses. Second game, played Rohan again.
By the way, both games were against the Riders of Theoden.
Yes. Second game, played Rohan again. It was retrieval to capture the flag mission. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to try out a new strategy, so I actually split my dwarves and my Dale up. Well, the Dale was paired off against Theoden and Aemir, and the player I played my second game, she also had those two and Durnhelm, so it's the same hero badge. And then Durnhelm's warband was against Thorin III. And the dwarves, I think in 2 turns, that entire warband was wiped out, and I controlled half the board just immediately.
Wow.
The Knights of Dale, they kind of struggled against Aemir and Theoden because they're a little bit harder hitters, especially Aemir. So it was kind of going a one-on-one back and forth. And then as soon as Dernhelm's warband was dead, I shifted half my dwarves over, and I think Aemir had 2 wounds left, was out of resources. Theoden had a wound left, was out of resources. And I think there was like 2 riders of Rohan left.
Wow.
Just from running through them. So playing 2 kiting armies, I didn't need range. I'm not saying that's going to be the case all the time, because, I mean, you can definitely, if the game goes long enough, you can be shot the crap like real fast, depending on dice rolls.
Just
and
takes
everything.
a couple.
Third game did not go so well though. Ian from our group and myself, we were I think, were you guys top table or were we top table?
I got 3rd.
Okay. Whatever.
Ian ended up getting 1st.
Yeah. So it was Moria with the Watcher, and then the King on the Rock.
Yeah, that's Groblog.
Groblog. Versus me.
I
And
love the Watcher
it
so
was
much.
the second, because I played your Watcher once, and so that was the second time I've ever played against the Watcher. So I was kind of iffy on the rules, which, I mean, it's my fault for not knowing the rules of models in the game. So we did Contest of Champions. So I was like, oh, Thorn's going to kill a whole bunch of goblins. I'm going to walk away with this win. Well, the Watcher popped up, and he had a perfect trifecta set up with the Watcher, a Bat Swarm, and Groblog. And turn 1, suck Thorin in, Bat Swarm, Groblog, Watcher, Trap. Because I didn't know that he could still tentacle me in combat. Yep. I thought he would have to do like an in the way or something.
In the ways.
Yeah, so my army leader, Thorin the Third, flash killed turn 1. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to win this game, so I'm just going to take all my anger out by killing random goblins. And just turn after turn, just more and more dwarves, or he was just sucking them in to the Watcher. And then eventually, before I knew it, I had like 2 dwarves on the board and like 7 Knights of Dale. And I ended up losing 8-1 that game because I did end up breaking him. So I got 1 point.
Yeah, and that wasn't on a water board.
Yeah.
If you've ever played against the Watcher on a water board, oh my god. It's not even fair.
Yeah, so that game wasn't exactly a shining moment for me.
Yeah, those are... You're just going to have some of those, you know? But, yeah, it's cool. So what Kevin essentially does when he plays, typically what he does is he puts his dwarves in the front and his Knights of Dale behind, and they move across the field like that in like a battle formation. And so his dwarves are sucking up any ranged hits. So, I mean, they're all D8 if they're in shield wall. So, I mean, like strength 2 bows are wounding them on 6/5s.
Yeah, it's unless they're hobbits.
Oh, yeah, and hobbits for
I
some
have
reason.
horrible luck against hobbits, but hobbit bows and hobbit rocks will just kill dwarves.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Anyway, so that's what he does until like basically he gets into charge range, and then he shifts all of his knights into the front and dares you basically to charge him. And so he has the knights that are getting +1 to wound behind his whole dwarf line with spears. So it's pretty effective strategy. I mean, like you're building a very dangerous shield wall, and then when you get into combat, I mean, their only real weakness is they're not mobile, but I mean, if he can get across the board, depending on the scenario, I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff about this army, and that's what we're talking about. So some of the other pros is we're talking about they have access to banners, regular banners, and war horns. So even if you're running into terror armies, you're not going to have to worry too much about a lot of this. I mean, you have a lot of high courage heroes in the list. And then you have, you don't even have to use the banners if you're using this, because all friendly models within 3 inches of Dane, Thorin the Third, Brand, King of Dale, and Bard 2 all count as being within range of a banner. Anybody within 3 inches, that's nuts. I mean, that's so powerful. So you have essentially 4 built-in banners in this. Remember, they don't count as a banner in scenarios where you have to have one to get points. So you do have access to regular banners. And also one of the things that we didn't even talk about yet is models within 1 inch of an opposite. So a dwarf within 1 inch of a man and a man within 1 inch of a dwarf get to reroll ones when rolling to wound.
If you roll like me, it actually comes up a lot more than you would think. Because typically, I have a lot of big spreads, so it would be like a 5 and a 1. And I'll be like, oh wait, 1. And then I'll get like a 6. So.
Yeah. Oh, which is cool rule. I mean, it's essentially the poison weapons rule, which is kind of awesome. If they're within 1 inch of somebody from the opposite race, essentially. And then they're 5/4 across the entire board. Warriors of Dale, Knights of Dale, Iron Hills Dwarves are all 5/4. Their entire army's 5/4. So if you're running up against Rohan, you're running up against almost any evil army outside of Uruk-hai or Black Numenorians, you're essentially fighting against 5/2 or 5/3. There are other things that they have. Okay, so that's a lot of the good stuff from the army. It's just fantastic.
Oh, the Goat Riders. So the Goat Riders, they're move 8, so that's your mobility. They're not as fast as horses, but whatever, you don't need them to be. But where the goats come in, which actually have helped me with the practice army I have for our upcoming like major tournament here in Nashville, is the knockdown. So when you charge in, you roll a dice on a 5 or 6, that enemy model is now knocked down. So even if you lose, you end up losing that fight, you're not going to die.
Yeah, they
just stand up. And, they stand up, you brush yourself off, you call it a day, and you hope you get priority next turn, and you just rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's a pretty nasty little combo with them. But yeah, so they're awesome. But, that's the thing. Like, the mobility comes from the Goat Riders, and then if you have to march. And I think only one of your dwarfs actually has march. I don't think...
I'm not too familiar with all of the champions. I've played with Dwalin and Gloin. But the captain has march.
Yeah, but I mean...
Dane and Thorin III do not.
Let's see. Dwalin does not have march. He has strike and strength. Biffer has strike. Bofer has strike and resolve. Bomber has
nothing.
Defense. Ori's not there. Nori has strike and strength. Dory has strike or strength and defense. Gloin has strike and strength. So none of your dwarves. Yeah, so only your captain has march. So they're a very low mobility army. But I mean, that's if you play with dwarves, that's how they are. They also have absolutely no access to magic, so they are kind of susceptible to it. If you run into like the Black Riders, this is true with almost any freaking list that you play against the Black Riders. You're going to have some issues with them because they're going to just kill your heroes instantly. So but you still have a pretty solid army like of Courage 4, 3, and 4 across the board to deal with them, and then you got pretty solid shooting too. Again, with the 4+ to hit from both your dwarves and your men of Dale. And you can get. I would always recommend tossing in 25 to 33% of your warbands have bows, ranged weapons, and always just to keep the horse riders and all of the those armies kind of honest, so they can't just sit back and just continue to shoot you from a foot away. Anyway, and they don't have access to the Iron Hills Chariot or the ballista, the Iron Hills ballista, which is fantastic. Really good siege weapon. But
I'm gonna say it. Siege weapons in match play is a crutch.
Unless it's the Mordor catapult and you're shooting heads at people. And if you've never seen that happen, oh my god, it is absolutely horrendous.
That's just wounding on courage, right?
It's if they fail a courage.
No, yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a hero. That doesn't matter. Yeah, I saw that happen one time to some pretty powerful heroes. Pretty shocking.
I've never been a fan of siege weapons in match play.
Yeah, I'm not.
I like siege battles. Take all of the siege weapons you want. But if I'm playing you in a grand tournament and you come at me with multiple catapults or trebuchets or something, I'm like, why?
Yeah. I hear you. Anyway, so we like this army. It's a great army. I think it's highly underrated, and not a lot of people are playing it right now. And not a lot of people are talking about it. But we're going to play it, here in a bit, actually, because we're going to do a battle report right after this this video. So if you stick around, I'm actually going to link it to this video. We'll put the actual battle report up, and I'm going to do 2 videos at the same time, which I've never really done before. So that'll be cool. So we're going to do the Defenders of Erebor, and then we're going to do just a big battle report, 700 points, because we're playing NashCon 2022 is August 20th, 21st, or no, 19, 20, 20.
I gotta save it in the phone.
Hold on, let me check real quick.
19, 20, and 21, but the
Yes.
GT is the 20th and 21st.
Yeah, that's Saturday and Sunday.
There's still tickets available.
Yeah, there are. There's a few left. I think we have 23 players.
Yeah, I think we have 3 tickets left.
Yeah, and we got room for 26. So if you see this, I'm going to put this up probably in the next day or 2. So if you see this, you've got time to actually get into NashCon, which is our biggest tournament of the year. We have probably 4 major tournaments. We already did one, the Beacons. I think we had like 17 or 18 players at it. Then we have NashCon, which happens every year in August. And then we have March on Music City in December, which it's looking like it's going to be the first weekend of December. It's like December 2nd, 3rd. Yeah.
So we're not going to release anything until NashCon is over with. But Evan, the Chump in the East, is going to be TOing March on again. And we were brainstorming some ideas for points values. I got some awesome raffle prizes set up, and the ideas we came up with, the trophies and the theme for it, because Evan's evil, so it's gonna be an evil theme again.
No one's surprised.
But the ideas we got are they're good.
Sweet.
They're real good.
So some of you have asked. I'm going to let you guys see some of Kevin's paintings here, some of his army. I'm just going to hold the camera up and just kind of wave over it so you guys can see. Anyway, thanks again for hanging out. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. We appreciate you. Please like and subscribe to the channel. But this is Kevin's Defenders of Erebor. You can see Thor in there.
Yeah. So
Let me pull up the cameras in the bottom left there. Check it out.
we got Thorin. I'm not the greatest painter in the world, but it's a good little model.
Yeah. There's the heroes. There's Dane.
Dane.
Old Dane. There we go.
Brand is just primed. I haven't got around to painting him yet, but the sculpt is still really cool.
This is Sith Brand. Darth Brand. Yeah, there we go.
And then Bard.
There we go.
So
Right on. So there you go. Now you guys can't complain about me not showing any armies on the channel anymore. So there you go. That is the Defenders of Erebor. We're going to play a game with them here in a minute, and then we will toss them on the channel. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Kevin, thanks for coming on the channel again. He technically was on it back at the beginning of the year when we did that little 4-man mini tournament. Oh my god, that was so much fun. I ran Ashrek and Druzag and just killed everybody with giant spiders. It was hysterical. How many heroes I killed with giant spiders. I killed Faramir, I killed Raza, and I killed Lurtz with giant spiders, enraged giant spiders. They are so much fun. Anyway, all right, guys, thanks for hanging out. We do appreciate you guys. God bless. Y'all have a great day or night wherever you're at. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and yeah, we'll catch you guys, well, right after this. Stick around and watch the battle report, yeah? Peace.
Bye.